Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Brown Girls in the Rain book club. We've got Sharanja over there, and we've got a very special guest down here, Divy.
Hello.
So this week we read Anil's Ghost by Michael. I don't know how to say his last name.
Ondaatje.
Michael Ondaatje. And Sharanja over here is going to give us the summary of it.
I will do my best. So Anil's Ghost is set in Sri Lanka during the height of the Civil War. The Civil War happened between 1980 to 2007, and I would say this was set in the 1990s. The main character is a Sinhalese woman by the name of Anil Tissera. She's a forensic scientist who's been living abroad from Sri Lanka for years and years. She's located in the US, which is where she's been for quite a few years now. And she goes back to Sri Lanka on a project with the International Human Rights Committee, and she is sent back to analyze a group of bodies that have been exhumed from an ancient burial site in Sri Lanka. And she notices that one of the bodies is not actually an ancient body. It looks like it's been buried within the past 10 years. And that raises the question of how did this body get here? And who is this body? Why is this here? And it just opens up a whole mystery as to, is this a person that was a casualty of the Civil War? Is he a political victim? And as she delves into this mystery, she involves some of her colleagues, and they all go on this journey to figure out clues about who this person could have been. But because it's Sri Lanka, this also puts them in danger, considering like the government is very, very active in, hurting people, killing people who ask questions. So they need to be very careful as they're analyzing this particular body that they call Sailor. They give him a name, Sailor. So I don't want to go into too much detail about this, but it was an interesting read, but this wasn't my favorite book.
And that's sad because you chose it.
Yeah, I chose it, and I'm just like,
But that's how I felt last. That's how I felt last book club. I chose the last one, and then I was kind of disappointed that it was just so quick.
Because it's an ongoing series, that's why. She's talking about a girl called Echo. It's an ongoing series, so it's not done yet. I think the third volume hasn't even been released. No, the fourth volume hasn't been released yet. It's still an ongoing story. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was kind of let down by this in terms of story. It wasn't as interesting as I thought it would be, but it's still very beautifully written. I'm not faulting the writing. It's just that I had a hard time connecting to some of the characters and the overall storyline. How did you guys feel?
I struggled. I didn't even finish reading it because I just keep reading it and I'll have to keep rereading parts because I'm like, what's going on? And then some parts felt very dry.
I feel like for people who like a lot of like I feel like when I'm reading, I like a lot of interaction and dialogue, but I think this had a lot of description in it. So I feel like if you're a reader that likes that, then you would like it better. Do you know what I mean?
Because you like reading textbooks.
Yeah. No, but really, because he describes a lot of things in depthly, and it's a lot of the scenery and the way they're looking at the skeleton, things like that. Those are very in depth. So if you like that, I think you would like this more.
Mm-hmm.
So. Hello, Sean, our #1 fan.
Hi, Sean. Yeah, I feel like he put a lot more.
For the happy birthday. Oh, sorry. Greg's back here feeling hurt that I said that he's not the #1 fan.
Don't cry.
Yeah, it goes without saying that Greg is the #1 fan.
Show your face, Greg. My light makes him look super dark.
Awkward silence. I feel like he put a lot more energy into what Divy said about describing everything else, but he didn't put that exact same energy into developing the characters or just the overall point A to point B of the storyline. It wasn't until we got to the last chapter that I realized this story isn't even about the corpse.
No.
It's about,
I was waiting for something to actually happen, like with that, and I was like, "Oh, that's not where we're going."
And they actually do tell you who the corpse is. They find out who he is.
So
But
who's
it's
the
just
corpse?
it was a young miner who they believed had who sympathized with like the local insurgents.
Mm-hmm.
And someone ratted him out, and the army came in, like, I believe this was the army came in and like shot him.
Okay.
Which has happened in real life too. That's a thing that happens. But it was literally just the span of a page, their discovery of who he is. And I felt like there was all this build up, and then they just brushed it off with who he was.
In terms of that too, I was thinking, I was like she was so intent on like getting justice, like for this like sailor and like for his family and this, but then like there's no mention of what happened to his family or anything. Like there's nothing else. It's like, oh
yeah, I feel like that was the one thing that I thought is misleading about this book, because when I chose this book, I thought it was going to be about all the missing people who have gone missing during the Civil War, and in a way it is, but it doesn't go into enough about the impacts of their being missing. It doesn't, like, they don't talk about the families. They don't talk about the people who go missing. I know they have that one character, Ananda, whose wife went missing during the Civil War, but he was such a, I know they end the story with him, but I'm just like, I couldn't care.
Okay, sorry, I was surprised by that too. I was like, why did we end on him? Like, like I didn't get why. Like I legitimately was like, he was, because they talked about him maybe in like 2 other sections, and I was like, really ending on him.
And I think I got confused when they switched the paw from Anil to Ananda's wife, because they actually do write a section of the story from her perspective, but then it took me a while to click that it was her. And then they just don't ever go back to that, but then you realize, oh, it's his wife.
Yeah.
And like,
no, go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, I think those things, like, I feel like I feel like his whole like person like interaction and transition from one person to another person was so disconnected, and I didn't know where everybody fit in the entire story, that I was like confused by that.
Yeah.
That's like, you guys said that he uses a lot of description, but it's like, okay, so one example that they keep using is that she used to be a swimmer. What does that have to do with anything? Like,
because besides the fact that she doesn't want to be identified as a swimmer anymore, like that's literally it. It's like, oh,
which I guess like the whole theme of identity is like a huge part of the book, where it's like, okay, so she's a swimmer, but she doesn't want to identify with that. Anil is not her real name, so that's an identity issue in itself. Like, she's coming back home to Sri Lanka, but she doesn't identify really as a Sri Lankan.
You know,
When that, what's his name, Gamini, like kept trying to like rope her in essentially back to culture.
In the beginning of the book, like when I first started reading Anil's like whole, like she doesn't want to go back there, she doesn't want to see her family. Like at first I was like, okay, like I get it, you know, like I haven't lived there in a very long time, whatever it is, there are very many cultural differences between me and my family back home, and I was like, okay, I get it. But then I feel like it went down the road of like shaming Sri Lanka for the way it is. And that like annoyed me, because she is like, oh, she thinks it's like her family's one way, and like she's like kind of like better for being like having more Western values and things like that. And I feel like that was very unfair. So I don't think one culture is necessarily better than the other, especially when we're talking about like Western culture versus like a South Asian. Like I feel like it's unfair to frame things like that. I feel like it was hurtful. Like I felt hurt by it.
In a weird way, she reminds me exactly of my aunt, because my aunt has that same type of attitude when she goes back to Sri Lanka, even though she lived there up until she was age 30, and then she came here, and she's been living here for like 30 years now. But like with Anil going back to Sri Lanka and not reaching out to any of her family members, my aunt does that too. Like she'll only go back to Sri Lanka just to go shopping, and she won't reach out to any family members.
Oh my.
Which is weird because she still has like siblings, like actual siblings. And
Is the shopping that good that she's gonna go all the way there just to shop?
Yeah. My aunt is a different story.
Like to buy what? Saris and gold?
Saris and gold and like things like that. She stayed 3 months last time in Colombo.
And didn't see any
3 months and did not talk to family? That's madness.
Yeah. She has 2 siblings, and then her deceased siblings, children all live in Jaffna still. She didn't even call them.
Wow.
But yeah.
Okay, I feel like we should have. I don't want to like put your family.
No. I will say it in the same way that Anil goes back and like views her home after living abroad for so many years. That's how my aunt thinks, and the fact that she doesn't want to deal with Sri Lankans. She doesn't want to like. She feels like Sri Lankans are just beneath her in a certain way now because she's been living abroad.
But does she not consider herself Sri Lankan?
No, she'll go out and say I'm Canadian.
I mean, listen.
Is she one of those people who just like? Does she speak Tamil?
Her Tamil is better than her English.
But does she speak it?
She can speak it, but broken English.
No, like I mean, does she speak in English or does she speak in Tamil?
So she speaks in Tamil.
Because like that's the thing. So, like, a lot of people will leave and say like, oh, like so they'll stop speaking their native tongue. Like some people do that.
Like when they go back home?
No, like when so now that she's saying like, oh, she's Canadian or whatever.
Yeah.
Some people would just be like, they'll leave their home country and then they associate with their new country and they stop speaking their language. They stop enjoying like the culture of their birth.
So I'll tell you one thing that she does that you guys might find is interesting. So when she's here and she's just talking to my family, or just like other Tamil people, she'll just talk straight Tamil, no questions asked. But when she goes back home and she's talking to Tamil people back home or family members back home, what does she do? She speaks in English.
Oh, she's trying to be like, or I'm better than you.
Yeah,
in a way. And I got that vibe when I was reading Anil's POV about going back home. Especially.
No, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Especially with that first chapter after she lands and she's just like taking it all in for the first time in a long time. Like, yeah, this is how my auntie thinks.
And no, like, not nothing against your aunt or anything like that, but like, just in terms of like Anil, like in the story, like that makes me mad because like, okay, obviously I feel like when I came back, I was like I came back and I got like, I don't know, assimilated into Canadian culture again. I feel like I thought that Canadian culture was better, but now like having some years on me and reflecting back on my life, I'm like, people around the world live differently, prioritize different things. And for me to go to a place, and just because I grew up in Canada for the most part of my life, to behave as if I am better than, it doesn't, I feel, no.
I feel like,
no, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
I know I didn't use any words, but that, yeah.
I feel like that's an issue that appears when a lot of people go back home for the first time, especially when they've lived abroad for like more than a decade, right? And maybe it's because you get so used to like the culture of where you're living that when you go back, especially when you're going back to like a third world country, it is a shock to your system, and a lot of times you do reject certain ideals.
I think especially because a lot of the countries outside the Western world are considered like are framed as third world countries. So in our minds, we're like, I mean, I'm not saying Sri Lanka is perfect or anything like that. You know, there are a lot of problematic things that happen there, but that is true for all countries. But because in the world, or at least in the Western world, we frame those countries as specifically problematic, I feel like that's like in our head when we go back. It doesn't necessarily have to be true for all of it.
Mm-hmm. So,
Sad.
do you guys think the book does a good job of like talking about like people creating identities versus like loss of identity? Because I think Anil does both. So in a way, she creates this identity for herself in the fact that her name's not even Anil. They don't even talk about her name in the book, but she falls in love with the name Anil and decides that's the character she wants to be. And then once she leaves Sri Lanka, and then once she leaves Sri Lanka, she does more. She loses everything that made her Sri Lankan in a way.
Like,
And
even to the point of she was sleeping with that married man.
Yeah, where she was sleeping with the married man and then stabbing the married man as a breakup.
Like, there was a lot going on.
Yeah, and then he got a POV chapter. I was just like, I didn't need to hear from you.
No, yeah.
There was a lot going on.
You know, just like I'll answer your question, but just like I feel like he had a lot of characters that we like heard from, but I feel like if he focused closer on a few more of them, because there were certain parts, even in terms of identity, I was like, I don't know how we got from here to here. So like I couldn't really like understand like the different stages that the like let's say few main characters were going through, because he would focus on like random ass people in the between.
Yeah.
So I think he did an interesting job in terms of identity and stuff. I don't know if that's an answer.
One interesting thing I read in this book was the fact that she actually lost some of her language when she was living abroad. And I've only ever been around like Tamil people who, yes, they've been living abroad, but they still speak it at home, right? So they haven't really lost their language. But then with her, it's like once she left the country, she just stopped speaking it altogether. And I didn't realize that in a way you could lose the language in that way, even though it's like her mother tongue. She still, like, she mentions it in the book that she lost like the certain intricacies of like speaking in the language.
Oh yeah, like they mentioned the intonation.
Yeah, like the intonation.
You know, now that you mentioned that, because I was like, okay, like, because I don't speak Tamil. I can understand it though. So I was surprised. And I think that's because I've been in, like, even from when I was young, I was in a lot of white spaces. But so even for her, even if she was in a lot of white spaces after she left Sri Lanka, like, why don't you, it is surprising to me she doesn't understand it anymore. Especially because she lived in Sri Lanka for much longer than me.
Yeah, she was born and raised in Sri Lanka, so there's a different aspect to it too.
In the fact that 18?
Yeah. So to not understand it at all, like, that is surprising.
It kind of seems like maybe there's a mental block going on.
I, like, in a whole, she like condemns the country and its culture completely. Which I feel like then you are condemning a part of yourself. That doesn't necessarily need to be.
It does seem like she is condemning a part of herself. Like it almost feels like she's cut off like a whole section of her past in a way.
Honestly, like, I didn't realize this too until, because, you know, like, I feel like, I don't know, I haven't really, in the spaces I've been, I haven't had a lot of like Tamil friends and things like that. But honestly, like, Sharanja, even like last weekend, like talking to you, I was like, I miss like, because you know certain things that I know just because of like cultural similarities. But I don't feel that like Anil, like, I don't think she ever, because with the people who she was hanging out with when she was abroad, I don't think she ever got that, like that feeling of, oh, I missed it, because I don't think she wants to let herself. And I don't think she would even allow herself to be in a space with another Sri Lankan person when she's abroad.
Until she had her first marriage.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like, she was like, this was shit. Like, I'm not saying it was great, but
why did I do this?
She was like, I should not have done that.
Like, I feel like a lot of people have that experience.
Like what?
Getting married and being like, this was complete shit. I shouldn't have done it.
That's another issue altogether.
I'm thinking like take it one step further to imagine if you're like the only person of color in your school, and then you see another person of color who's from the exact same region as you. You will try to most of the time you will try to forge a relationship with that person because you think that they come from the same life as you, but oftentimes or not, you're basing your friendship off of something that's not stable, right? Yes, you're from the same area, but that doesn't mean you have other life goals or other personality traits that fit well together.
Yeah, it's just clinging on, because it's like when you're in high school, obviously there's people you might not be friends with them, but then you go to university or college, and like there's people that you not necessarily know, but you know of, you recognize that were there from high school. So then it's like sometimes a friendship may start, or like you might hang out with each other for like the first few weeks just because you know each other and know no one else.
Mm-hmm.
And then goes from there.
And
Same thing, like you
apart.
cling, you cling to what you know until you find something better.
Oh man, what a harsh way of putting it. Jeez. Oh, hey.
Thank you, TC.
I remember like my first day of high school.
I knew this was coming.
We just moved to Pickering and I didn't know anyone. And then I went to Dumbarton, which was like a majority white school. And what did I do? I found the first Tamil girl that I saw and I made friends with her. I went up to her and I said, "Hey, you're Tamil? Okay, you're my friend." Anika knows who I'm talking about.
I do. Because I spent more time with her than Sharanja did out of high school.
This is why Anika says Tamil people love her.
It's true.
I mean, clearly it is. Like
Tamil people gravitate towards me.
Wow.
In fact, it's because of that friend that Sharanja and I are friends.
Yeah, because I think I met you through her or something.
Yeah, because my friend Jasmine and I had a class together, and then this other friend was in grade 8 with Jasmine. So that's how that friend got in, and then that friend brought Sharanja into the group.
Beautiful. And look, all these years later,
we're the only two. Well, Jasmine and her still talk, and tell Jasmine I said hi. But we're the only 3 who worked out.
Huh?
I think we've seen pictures of her, right?
Yeah, you met Jasmine last week.
Oh, yes, you're right. I apologize. Hello, Jasmine. I don't know that she's watching this.
Yeah.
You know, I'll just tell this because we're talking about high school. But because when I came back here and I was in grade 10, and I had a Sri Lankan accent, and like. I didn't know that. I didn't know I had a Sri Lankan accent. I don't know if now if you can tell. I don't know. I don't think I really have it anymore.
Not at all.
Yeah, on some words, I'll stop myself from saying them because, like, on some words it's still there, and it's now like I'm very aware of how I speak now because I noticed on some words that it's there. But whatever. So when I came back,
that can happen regardless of you living there too. Because like Greg says some things that like. Because obviously, if your parents are immigrants and you hear them say a word a certain way all the time, and then you say that word.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
But I remember condensed.
How does he say
condensed?
Oh, yeah. So I remember, though, like, when I came back and I had this accent, like, I don't remember, one of my friends, like, pointed it out or something, and, like, you know, I would get made fun of it and stuff, and I feel like after a while I had to, like, beat it out of me almost. And then I feel like because there was this like one other brown guy in my grade. He was Sri Lankan, he was Sinhalese. But I feel like because we went to a white school, I made it a point to like not be friends with him because I didn't want it to be like, oh, it's just those 2 brown kids. They hang out together because they're brown. And so
you purposely didn't become his friend.
Yeah, because I was scared that all the like pretty little white girls wouldn't be friends with me. Honestly and truly, that
could have been your future husband.
Oh my gosh,
he was annoying. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said his name. I'm sorry.
Divy, what you're saying right now, that's a thing that happens in like workspaces too, where you have like a workspace that's like majority white, but you get two people who are both brown, but they purposely will avoid each other just so it won't look like, oh, the two brown girls, the only two brown girls are in the office are friends, or they must be related.
Yeah, no, literally though, because this is the things people say, and then you get excluded from everything else if you two are, you know what I mean? I don't know, it's kind of sad. You look back and see all the ways you had to like police yourself just so people wouldn't, exclude you.
And it's sad because it's not really things you can control, right? Like your accent, like people can't really control that. That's just the way that they speak, right?
Not only that, but it's also, I feel like the whole accent thing is also steeped in, I wouldn't really say racism, but I'm gonna say racism.
Yeah.
Because certain accents are frowned upon and others are like enjoyed. So it's like if you have an English accent, it's like, oh my gosh. But then it's like if you're Indian or maybe even Sri Lankan or something, it's like
South Asian, honestly, like accents from like African accents, like Asian accents, like all of those are frowned upon. But anything European, you're like, oh, you're so beautiful.
Except for German accents.
Yes.
Hey, some people like the German accent.
They like it more than ours.
Yeah.
So
you're right.
Hierarchy.
And then I guess like even when it comes to Caribbean, like certain Caribbean accents are favored over others because obviously if you speak more eloquent, that's going to be favored over if you speak like you're from the bush.
You know,
like, they like to hear your accent, but they want to be able to understand what you're saying. They don't want to question like, what was that? What are they saying?
Now that I'm thinking about it too, even in Sri Lanka, like because like the Tamil they speak in Colombo, not that they speak it often, mostly it's Sinhalese people there, but it's different than like Tamil spoken in Jaffna. And obviously, I feel like one is very much favored over the other. Why?
Because you guys are, because Sharon just said when you go to school or work and you meet people and you're like, oh, they're related, and then the person's asking if him and I are brother and sister.
I wish I was there when they asked you that. I'd just be like, are you blind? I'm
it's confused. 2 different people, so
maybe they were just trolling you. They could have just been trolling you.
I don't think so.
I don't understand.
Like at all. Like
yeah.
I don't understand either, but
if anything, Greg looks more like me than you.
Well, but like even facial features, like you guys don't even have similar I don't know. People are crazy.
You don't have similar facial features, like you don't even look like you're in the same family. I don't get it. But
I don't know.
I wish I was there. I legitimately wish I was there. Like,
what would you even do?
I would be like, are you confused? How confused?
You would not say, Divy, you would not say that.
Yeah, I would.
You're too nice.
No, you know what it is? When people, because I know why they say these things. And when people say stuff like that, I'm like, I'm not. This is not what I put up with. I'm very nice until like, I'm like, no.
She's European.
Yeah, well.
And I don't know.
Sure.
I don't like it when people aren't aware of how they sound before they open their mouth.
You know what I will say that I like really liked, like about it was in the beginning of the book, and I kind of think readers won't get this unless they've been to Sri Lanka, which I don't know that's a good thing on the writer's part. But when I was reading it and like I guess the narrator was like describing like the rain and like her like driving through the streets or whatever, sitting in the, what do they call it in the book? I used to call it a trishaw. I don't know what it's called in like.
That's what it's called.
Okay. So then she's driving through the streets. Because I lived there, I can like imagine that and like the feeling of it and whatever. I do feel like some of his descriptions were off, but I feel that was nice because it took me back to like those moments. So that was nice reading that part. I liked
Yeah, no, his descriptions were really lush. I feel like the way he wrote the setting, it's like almost like a character in and of itself. But I like I said, I just wish I cared more. I feel like I shouldn't have needed as much motivation as I did in order to read this book. Considering like I'm Sri Lankan, I feel like I
You know, I wish he wasn't so vague about the war.
mhm.
A lot of it was like very like he could have said this is what is happening and these are the people being hurt and these are the people doing it, but I feel like he didn't want to. And I feel like if he had named the things and actually like pinpointed things that were happening, I would have like felt more connected to it.
It's weird because he was vague in certain parts, but then he was intensely descriptive in other parts. Like in the end with the whole part about the prime minister being assassinated, that was extremely descriptive. And even the parts where with Gamini and then the other doctor Linus who were no, Gamini was stationed in the north and working at a hospital. Those scenes were highly descriptive. And then there was a part where he talked about a doctor who got kidnapped by like the local insurgents and he had to work on like the militants who were injured, and like those parts, like the parts with all the injuries were super descriptive.
And did you like that or you didn't like that?
I don't know if I liked it, or it's not a question of me liking it or not liking it. I'm just wondering why.
Yeah.
Like, because it gave off that whole thing where like everyone who's not like a POV character is just there for like aesthetics, or they're not even background characters, they're just there.
You know what I was thinking while we were going through all those like different characters and even like different like scenery. Like at one point they're in Candy, one point they're like all over the place, right? I was trying to think back. I was like, how long does it take to get to Candy? But I was like, okay, fine, they got there. That's fine. So, so that I feel like he tried to include. It's weird. It's weird again because I feel like he tried to include so much of Sri Lanka, but then in a lot of parts he was still vague about it. So I was like.
So it kind of feels like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I have a question for you guys. So the name of the book is Anil's Ghost. Who do you think is Anil's ghost?
Herself, her past.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys. I think it's her ghost is her past. And it's something that she's trying to run away from. It's almost like she's scared of her ghost.
Like, her ghost is her before the age of 18. Or like just around that age.
Did you guys find it strange that they didn't really mention her parents or her family outside that one part with how she got her name?
Yeah. I was like I was expecting them to come up at some point though.
Because like correct me if I'm wrong, but family is a very important part of Tamil culture. So the fact that
no, in Sri Lanka completely, people get together all the time. Like people relationships are like important. Like people get together, they hang out together. Like even after work, even on weekdays, people are together. It's a very like communal, like culture. So I was very confused why she didn't see anybody.
Yeah. And even it's not even her relationship with her family. I feel it's like her relationships in general. Like the two main relationships that they highlighted in the book was the one that she had with her lover, who was the married man, Cullis, and that was interesting in and of itself. Like it didn't come off as like a romantic relationship. But it just seemed like they were taking from each other something.
Like a service.
Like a service. And then her relationship with, I guess, like her best friend at the time. But even though this was her best friend, they still lost contact with each other for like at least like a year or so. And I'm like, how does that happen? Like, even if she doesn't reach out to you, do you not try to reach out to her?
Yeah. I was wondering about that too. You
I
know,
guess people just ebb and flow.
Yeah, no, she is definitely an ebb and flow, and I feel like because she doesn't have these relationships to ground her, that's one of the reasons why she's always changing location too. She's not really rooted to one spot. Even like her time abroad, she was either splitting it between different states in the US or going to Europe. Like she was all over the place. Like kind of like a string attached to a balloon that's flying away. Like that's how I feel about her reading her story in the book.
Mm-hmm.
But even with the best friend, like she wanted the best friend to call her.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she wants those, but when she gets them, she won't work for them.
Yeah, she definitely feels like the type of person who you need to reach out to her. You need to show her that you want her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
she has like these walls up that like she won't reach out to you because she doesn't want to show she's like weak or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like she doesn't want to be seen as like needing people. Which is why I think she also went for Cullis because Cullis was unavailable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Their whole relationship, I didn't really.
She has a lot of trauma that she needs to work through. Or not,
This
maybe
is
not trauma, but like a lot of issues that she needs to work through.
I wish we got to know a bit more of her
Past.
background because I don't know from what is that, why is this coming up?
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, it's fine, of course everybody has trauma, everybody has things, but I feel like I wish that we got more of an insight into that.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think not just her past, but I feel like her future self is her ghost as well. Because I feel like she did a lot of thinking when we got those flashbacks of her and Cullis too. I think it was towards the end, one of her little flashbacks or whatever it is. I think she made a decision not to see him anymore or something like that. And then I think there was a line where she was like, "Now that's done," and something else what's going to happen in the future, something like that. So I feel like I don't know that she's ever actually present. Because they're not only her past is haunting her, but her possible future is as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do you think it's the fact that there's this whole aspect of uncertainty in the book?
Mm.
People are uncertain about the war, people are uncertain about the future. Do you feel like that's also present in the way that she feels about what's going to happen to her in the future?
To a detrimental way.
Mm,
Because, I mean, even as people like us, I think we acknowledge that there's an uncertainty to life. But I feel like the way that she takes up uncertainty or deals with it is a detriment to her. I think she wants to know, or she has decided that I need to control every aspect of whatever. Because even with all her relationships, she needs to know the defined terms and when she can end things.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. She's very interesting for sure.
She is interesting, and I feel like she might be one of the more interesting characters in the book now, having talked about her. But when I read it through, I wasn't attracted to her at all. I like the other character, Gami.
Yeah.
He seemed really interesting.
he was annoying me at first.
The book could have been on Gami and I would have read it all because he was interesting. Yeah,
he was really, really interesting. I feel like the one that they wanted us to care about, but I didn't really care about, was Sarath.
Me too.
I
didn't get him.
I didn't get him either. And like the fact that like there was some confusion at first as to why was his wife dead? Was she alive?
Okay, why did that one person in that house say she was alive then?
Yeah. I think she's alive.
But then didn't Gamini later say that she had died? Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
it's like just figuratively
Oh.
either the death or the life.
Mm.
And then Sarath was in love with Gamini's wife.
So, but was he? I feel okay. You know what? Sarath's whole, even his development as a character, because at one point he goes from like he starts off from like shrugging off Anil's like questions about all the things, and then like I don't know, I want to say like in the midway through the book, there has been no interaction between the two because we're having all these other things pop up. And then suddenly he's very interested and it's like, we're going to do this. So I'm like, when did all of this develop? When did you get so like so I feel like that like character development, his story was very confusing and like a
Yeah.
lot of people were missing.
You were really questioning why he was there. Like, so spoiler alert, he does die at the end of the book, apparently. But even then they don't explain what happened to him. But the whole scene where Gamini like finds out that he is dead, I thought that like that touched my heart. The fact that like it's a sibling, you have you have a different relationship with your sibling. You never think that it's not like your mom or dad where it's like you always expect your sibling to be there with you until like your dying day, and then to lose that relationship, especially with the way that their relationship is portrayed in the book. I think in their childhood they must have been like casual rivals, like sibling rivalry, but then it turns into this like whole brotherly love, and then to lose that relationship, and then to see how Gamini reacts to seeing his brother's body there, and the fact that he recognizes his brother's body by the little marks and scars on his skin, like, oh, I remember this scar, like he got this while riding his bike. Like, I thought that was well done, but I'm just like, he's dead and I still don't care about him.
No, it's true though. It's true.
Yeah.
I think it's because we didn't get the chance to like know him really.
Not really.
Like his answers are very direct. We don't really, besides a little bit of background, we get background info, but not like background feelings. We don't get how he felt about any of the things that had happened in his life.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That's kind of sad. I don't know. It's kind of tragic.
Yeah, I felt it was tragic for Gamini.
See, like even that, I feel like it would have been interesting because like he's already like Gamini's already. What was it on? What was he on? He's on some drug. I don't remember which one. Okay, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know what the drugs are called. I'm not hip. Okay, I don't know.
Anyway. Drug.
Okay, so I feel like even like delving into that more, like I would have been more interested in the story if we focused on Gamini. I would have been more interested in the entire.
So what Divy wants is a Gamini book. Gamini's Ghost.
A sequel.
There we go. Yeah.
We could do that.
I also think it might have been, you know what? Okay, sorry. Because Sharanja, you mentioned before, like, you know, the scene when that one doctor gets kidnapped. I forget his name, but when he gets kidnapped.
I think it's Linus.
Yeah. So when he gets kidnapped and then like it was by the insurgents, like they mean like I'm gonna guess like Tamil people.
That's
like
another thing I was confused about. So in the book, they name three groups. So it's the government, insurgents, like government, anti-government insurgents, and then guerrillas. So who? I know who he's talking about with government, but I wasn't sure if he's talking about Tamil Tigers with the guerrillas or Tamil Tigers with the anti-insurgents, because I know there were more than one group.
Right. Either which way, like the group that kidnapped him, they were Tamil because they, you know, in the book how they mention it was an unknown language, but then at the end of that little section, they were like, oh, like they went to like swim in the water or whatever. Like they were all together and like just doing their thing and they were all fine and talking. I feel like if you're going to write a book that is centered around the Civil War, it would have been brought more humanity. Like you had the opportunity to like display Tamil people with humanity, which has not been done in like mainstream media. And by you erasing like that they were Tamil people, they were speaking Tamil language, I feel like you took away that opportunity. You could have given them humanity in. Like I don't know. I feel like that I think is like my most like it made me angry, to be honest. Like because we're so dehumanized in not just Sri Lankan media, but in Western media as well. And like here's an opportunity. You're writing about this topic, and you still went that path. That kind of made me mad. I don't know. You know?
Yeah, especially with the fact that it's very clear that everyone he's writing about in the book is Sinhalese. He made it known that they were Sinhalese, but he couldn't do that for the other minority group that we know. We as Sri Lankans know that he's talking about Tamil people, but not other people reading the book wouldn't necessarily know.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention something. So he does draw on things that have happened in the past and like sort of weaves them through the story, like certain like archaeological facts that have been like discovered. Like there was a whole chapter where they talked about this like Anil working in China, and her and her team like finding a Chinese coffin or tomb, and the fact that the king, this Chinese emperor, was buried with 15 or 20 women who were his like orchestra, basically. Like he does things like that I feel like add to like the overall setting of the book. But sometimes it was just like too much.
Like the description of like, I guess they're called excavations, right? That's what they call it.
Description of the excavations, especially there is this other character in the book called Palipana. And I guess he's an archaeologist too. Like he was Sarath's mentor, but his whole chapter, it literally, like I understood it, but it was going over my head at the same time. The fact that it was so steeped in the past, with them talking about like all these scientific terms and like archaeological terms, and like the fact that like the whole thing with his character was the fact that he had fallen from grace within the academic community, because he had apparently like lied about some of the meanings of these archaeological symbols. And it just goes into the saying like maybe like what we understand as the past is not necessarily the past because of who teaches you about the past. Like when it comes to like learning about history in school, is that like an accurate representation about history? Or is that is that someone else's interpretation?
The white man, at least in Canada, North America, South America too.
I mean, honestly, like even Sri Lankan history is told by the white man. Really? Yeah. Well, wow, it is told by the white man. You know, it's very. Now that you brought that up too, sorry, just like because like now I'm thinking about it, I feel like all of them were very much haunted by the past, because his whole thing was that like now he's just living here in the middle of nowhere
with his niece.
Hey,
with his niece.
Like this is what I was like. Honestly, this type of stuff bothered me that this was written into the book, because Sri Lanka's not like that. That's not all that Sri Lanka is, you know? Like weird ass, sketchy ass, inappropriate things happen all over the world, but you've decided, the author has decided, this is what we must highlight. Why? You could have highlighted so many other things that are far Sri Lanka. You chose to do this. What? That made me mad.
100%. I was questioning certain things, certain scenes that were in the book, and I'm like, oh. Okay.
I guess. Okay, we're just gonna. I don't know. And we just like glazed over it, like it didn't matter, like as if this was okay, normal, like okay.
Yeah, he does that very well in the book, glazing over things, just like moving on to the next thing without like explaining. or showing people's reactions. I'm like, okay, all right then.
Like, okay. Especially if it was in the 90s.
This is an author who is highly credited.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. So his other book, The English Patient, it was adapted into a film back in the 80s, and it won like the best Oscar, which is like the Oscar for best film, which is that it's because of The English Patient that he is such a well-known writer. I think that was his first book, and this was his second.
So, I searched up his background before, but so he's Sinhalese and mixed with
Portuguese. So he's
Portuguese?
Portuguese Dutch.
Oh, but yeah, okay, yes.
Yeah. So like they're technically like people who have this type of background are typically called like burghers. Bergher. I don't want people thinking I'm saying McDonald's burgers. Burgers.
Why it gotta be McDonald's? Why it can't be Burgers on Fleek? Which that's like, actually a good burger place.
Well, so these people have their mixed heritage, and because Sri Lanka being such a racially caste stratified country, like everyone pretty much has to adhere to like a certain racial group, and because of their mixed heritage, burghers have pretty much stuck within their community, and like throughout the years they've developed their own culture, their own history, and he's descended from them, which is why he looks like this.
Yeah. Passing. He looks white for everybody. Yeah. I see, like, even that, like, I have a problem that he then decided to write a book on the war, because what he is experiencing as somebody who's passing for white is not necessarily the same thing that like a little Tamil girl, or even for that matter, like a little Sinhalese kid or family or whatever, like it's a very different experience.
Well, so I researched this book a little bit, and it's mostly lauded by Western media.
Yeah.
Sri Lankans aren't out there praising this book, or just South Asians aren't out there praising this book. It's lauded by Western media because I guess it represents like the Western view of what Sri Lanka is. For the longest time, people didn't think of Sri Lanka as anything but like a civil war or a little island with death.
And he reinforces that. That's why it makes me mad. He reinforces that we're primitive, that like we're shrouded in death and violence and like just like everything ugly. And it makes me mad, to be honest, because like
you wouldn't expect that from somebody who's from there.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like his positionality, like in the world, the way he looks, you know, the removedness that he is from the culture, like I think that's why he wrote something like this. And like, you know, of course, he's a good writer, but it just makes me mad that he like presented it in this way, because it's not fair. The media already drags us through the mud and makes us feel very much less than. So I don't know, it just.
Divy, I think I must have told you this the last time we talked, but there's this movie on Netflix called The Funny Boy.
Oh yeah.
I knew she was going to mention this.
Because it fits in with what we're talking about how Tamils are represented in media. But so this director, Deepa Mehta, so she didn't cast any Tamil people for the main role, which is strange because the main character is Tamil. It's an LGBTQ+ story about a Tamil boy coming of age and like accepting his sexuality and falling in love for the first time. She didn't cast a Tamil person for that, which is strange when she also used the backdrop of the Black July riots as the time period and setting. And it just blew my mind, the fact that like, so with the Black July riots, people were getting killed because they spoke Tamil. There were Sinhalese mobsters, killers going up to Tamil people and saying, "Can you speak Sinhalese? You speak Tamil," and killing them right on the spot. And this director cast people who don't speak Tamil for the story.
Shame.
Like,
Shame on them.
yeah, that in itself, like, just like a total erasure. And a
Total erasure.
representation.
And the fact that, like, the people she did cast, she casted a Sinhalese guy for the main actor. That is also, that's something. And then everyone else was Indian, but I'm like, they're not even Tamil Indian. They're like Canadian Indian, North Indian, like.
But why? Like, as if there aren't Tamil people who want to be actors. Like,
Yeah.
why?
And you can't even say it bothers me when people say that there's no gay people in the Tamil community, because there are, especially in Toronto.
Yeah, exactly.
They hide themselves too much.
They don't have to hide themselves. There's full-on IG profiles out here with these guys. I was gonna say something.
I would have assumed that they'd be hiding from their families because their families don't condone it.
I mean,
the thing is, though, you can't paint everyone with the same brush, because there are guys out there who are living out and about and would have wanted this role for themselves.
And I feel like if you actually put a Tamil guy who is part of the LGBTQ plus community in that role, that would have helped a lot of children that are part of the LGBTQ plus community and are Tamil. I feel like that would have been a big deal for them. And you took that from them.
Yeah. And my other criticism for this movie was the fact that she actually filmed the movie in Sri Lanka. Whenever you film a movie in Sri Lanka, you have to get approval from the government in order to film there. In order to get that approval, you need to tell them what your content is, what you're filming about, what your story is. There have been so many movies about the Sri Lankan Civil War that have been denied filming rights in Sri Lanka because they painted the government in a bad light, which they should.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever watched Kannatha Mutta Mitta. It's one of the most famous Indian movies that have portrayed the Sri Lankan Civil War, because it tells it from the perspective of the Tamil people. It's one of my favorite movies. The director Maniratnam tried to film it in Sri Lanka. He knew he wasn't gonna get the rights to do it because it shows the government in a bad spot. And like that, all these other movies who have tried to follow suit haven't gotten the right to do it because it shows the government in a bad spot. She got approved to do it. So that says something right there. So she has this positive relationship with this authoritarian dictator, and she is out there telling the media that Rajapaksa which is like the prime minister at the time of this whole debacle. That this man right here, he is a person that is for freedom of speech, artists. This is a good man right here. All the while, people are dying in the northern provinces of Sri Lanka.
Not just dying, being tortured, being starved, not just dying. Okay.
Yeah. And especially journalists. For the longest time in the 90s, the number one country for you to be a journalist was Sri Lanka, because they would shoot you on sight. And yet she is saying that this man is a good guy and that he's a supporter of free speech. She got approval to film there.
And you said she's Canadian?
She's Canadian. She's a director from Alberta. She's a well-known Indian director. She did like movies like Fire, Water, Earth. Like those are her 3 most famous trilogies. She has had a long history of doing this shit, though. Let's say that. And yeah, so screenshots of the movie Funny Boy have been floating around Twitter, and people have complained because they made up historical facts within the movie, but it makes sense because that's how she got approval. Because she wanted to get an Oscar. She wanted to be a competitor for the Oscar, which is why she did all of this. But one of the things that she mentioned, which was a complete lie in the movie, was the fact that there was a character in the movie that said that Tamil people are going around in Colombo and killing Sinhalese people in mobs. When the fuck did that happen?
Never. Literally never. Literally never.
Literally never happened, because I'm like, if you think if that Tamil people were allowed to go around doing that, killing Sinhalese people, do you think that there would be Tamil people in Colombo to this day? Hell no, everyone would have gotten kicked out.
Honestly, even like, yeah, I mentioned this like before when we were talking about. So when you're in Sri Lanka, there are like, when you're going through the city, there are things called checkpoints. So it's like there will be people like part of the military or whatever, like armed people, and they'll be checking like your ID. So for when I lived there, it was my passport, and so I remember like thinking like, obviously, I mean, it held weight that I had a Canadian passport, but so my last name sounds like a Sinhalese last name. And so, but that's how they judge who they will allow in certain spaces, whether the name sounds Tamil or whether the name sounds Sinhalese, or if you look Tamil or if you look Sinhalese. And this is, so like, how do you really think that Tamil people are going around killing people in Colombo? Because, bro, if your name didn't sound a certain way or you didn't look a certain way, you're not allowed in certain spaces. That's just the truth.
Also, I don't think they were allowing people to congregate in large numbers like that. That was something that was heavily policed.
Yeah.
And like, so this was the backdrop of this movie, but she didn't even mention the fact that the Sinhalese mob that was going around killing people had government papers stating which were Tamil households. Like that was just glazed over. That's a known fact that they had access to that information, but that wasn't in the movie.
I don't know how she thought she could do this and like people wouldn't say anything. Like we don't like I feel like she thought she could put this out there and all the lovely Westerners would be like, ah, yes, but like, no, like all the people that actually knows what happened, it's not as if we're going to sit here and be like, yes, please continue to spit out these lies about us, please.
Oh yeah, and she's gotten reamed for it on Twitter and social media. Even Ava DuVernay. So Ava DuVernay's production company is the one that helped fund the project. Even Ava's gotten hell for it, but I feel like for me, Ava's role in this is similar to Ja Rule's role in the whole what do you call it, Firefest debacle.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
He's just like a background figure that people need to get mad at. But I'm not super mad at him because he put his trust in the wrong people.
Yeah, like
that's how I feel about Ava.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like she got played. So I understand the criticism towards her, but I'm not as mad at her as I am with Deepa, who knowingly did what she did.
Yeah. This is the problem. Honestly, I think because I'll even say like up until 5 years ago, I think the like rhetoric towards Tamil people was very like, it wasn't, like people would make fun and like say really terrible things about Tamil people in Canada as well as in Sri Lanka. And like I feel like by making things like this, like by making books and movies and things like that, like you're making it worse. It's hard. Like I remember like even in Sri Lanka, like because so I went to an international school and I think I was like one of the only Tamil kids in my grade in the school for that matter, because everybody that is wealthy there is Sinhalese. So, but then like the feeling of like loneliness and like they will tell you that like the parts of you that are Tamil are ugly and like all of that and like that happens everywhere because of the way Tamil people have been because of the stories that have been told that have been lies. Oh, mostly. I don't know. It's heartbreaking and it's very unfair.
Divya, I haven't told anyone this story, but so there was another Sri Lankan girl who I worked with, and she knew I was Sri Lankan. She knew I was Tamil. So this is the story I'm going to tell you. So she was decorating her house. She just bought a new house, and she was decorating it, and she was telling me things like how she's going to like paint the rooms and whatnot. And she's like her husband wanted to paint one of the rooms orange. And I'm just like, okay, well, just let that be his like man's room. And she's like, oh, I don't want it to look like a Thambi house.
What does that mean?
She like, I think she was trying to say I don't want it to look like a Tamil person's house.
Oh.
Like you see an orange room and you think that's a Tamil person's house?
I've literally never, like, what is
I
it?
was gonna ask, you guys use like a lot of bright colors like that? Or
Yeah,
is it
but like,
supposed to be like, cause like the Tamil tigers?
oh, maybe that's what she was trying to say. Cause like, but like, what?
Like I don't think so. I think in her mind, like whenever you see like outrageous colors or like colors that don't
Like the
go
color of
together,
your room there?
this is my favorite color. Okay?
This looks nice. It's fine.
Yes, it looks nice. Okay? But I think she was trying to say anytime you see an obnoxious color,
Yeah.
it's a Tamil person's house. But they have little things like that in their culture as we do. I'm not saying we're not
Yeah.
special in that, like we don't say super shit too, but like they have things in their culture that they say that are like microaggressions
Yeah.
towards
Yeah.
Tamil people, and I don't even think they know it sometimes.
Yeah.
Like the same coworker was just like, do all your people have this big nose?
Wait, okay, hold on. So she was Sinhalese?
She was
Or she
Sinhalese.
was Sinhalese. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she asked me, like, do
How
all your
dare
Tamil people have this big nose? And I'm like,
She's saying
no,
your
this
nose
is
is
my
big?
family. Like, she asked me, is this, like, all your Tamil people have this big nose? And I'm like, she probably doesn't know how she's coming off to me right now, but I'm just like,
How
no,
do you not know? What do you mean? Like, is this an appropriate thing to say to someone? Like, I don't understand.
I'm just like, I just told her, it's just like a family, it's like a family nose. I've seen Tamil people who have no nose. Like,
Yeah.
Shade.
I don't understand those things though, like because I really don't think in this day and age you can claim that someone's like ignorant to the things that they're saying.
you know, I don't know. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, like I'm not like no, it's like come on, man. Like come on. Like I just like I just don't like also like I feel like we're young people, like we know, like you don't like what I'm just angry now.
She just came from there. Like she not just, but she came within like the last 5 years. So
you you know, for that matter too, I remember like you know what actually what is very interesting. So I would say like my mom was like a little lighter than me. And when she was here, and this used to annoy me that she used to do this, people would like ask her like where she's from, and they would guess, and she would just say whatever. Like she'd be like, "Okay, sure, like you think I'm from here." So, you know, it was a different time back then. People didn't really know what Sri Lankan was or Indian was or anything for that matter. So she would just go with whatever anybody would say. But so like even like a lot of people in my life have thought I was Sinhalese, and they often thought that was like a compliment. Sure, it's fine, sure, I guess, but like the flip side of that is that like if I looked Tamil, I think I look Tamil, but the flip side of that is like they wouldn't think saying that I look Tamil would be a compliment. And that like that makes me like I don't like I feel like in every like even though those little microaggressions what you were saying like it's there. It's always like a dig. Like it's like my Tamilness is used as like a tool
It's like
to
you wouldn't say that like them calling you Sinhalese is is disrespect, but you know that if they say that, oh, you look Tamil, that they're not taking that as they're not saying that as a compliment.
Mhm.
And like that is a very complicated issue to live with.
Mhm.
Like you obviously you're Tamil, like you want that pride for being Tamil, and like people are just saying like, oh, you look Sinhalese, thinking like, oh yeah, that's like the best compliment she could get.
I remember when I lived there too, like some people would be like, "Oh, like you're so pretty," and they would be like, "Oh, are you Sinhalese?" And like, why are those things the things that go together? I was a kid when I would be like, "No, I'm Tamil," and I will go on my merry way. I feel uncomfortable, fine, I go on my way. But like, that still happened like into my adulthood, even when I was here. I was like, okay.
it's the way people are programmed to think.
Mm. I don't know.
You know, one thing that I thought was weird in this book that I thought was missing is the fact that they don't mention caste at all. Like, not once.
I thought that was problematic.
Yeah. And maybe it goes back to, it
No,
probably goes back to what you were saying with like the whole, like the author probably being so removed from Sri Lankan people that he probably hasn't dealt with caste in his own life.
Mm-hmm. I feel like because he's writing from like an upper, like, so-called perceived upper level, he feels like he doesn't need to state it, but people who are disadvantaged by that caste system, like, I feel like it would help people understand like what's going on and what disadvantages people have, but because he benefits from it,
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't state it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's obviously a story that like that is involved in.
Mm-hmm.
The caste system is like a lot of it is. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just disappointed, I guess.
Very disappointed.
And I didn't want to be, like you said, like I was excited. I was like, okay, book about Sri Lanka. I never got this before. I was excited.
This was not the book.
Oh, hey. Hello.
Hello.
Anika, you're on mute. I think you might be on mute. Or maybe you're not. I don't know what's up.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I was on mute. As I was saying, hi, Al. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you're having a great day at work. I know that for my work, it's pretty hella busy right now, and I am glad that I'm not there, but I'm in tomorrow.
And I like the birthday cake that's in the comment.
See.
Oh, I think
You
it's
thought Divy looked Canadian?
some people
I
will.
bet she looks Canadian too.
What'd you say?
Yeah. She looks Canadian. She sounds Canadian. But we know deep down she's got that Sri Lankan pride.
Sri Lankan spice.
Yeah. I call her my Tamil potato.
Wow. I like potatoes for anyone. This is why. I like
Potatoes are good.
mashed potatoes, French fries.
Potatoes are her favorite.
What are those little things? Hash browns, those little tater tot
Tater
things.
tots.
Oh.
What about them smiley fries?
Oh yeah, and curly fries.
And string fries.
Like, I'm good with everything except the mashed potatoes.
No,
You don't like mashed potatoes? I'm talking real mashed potatoes, not the ones that you add water to.
I think I've only ever had the powdered one.
Mm-mm.
Okay,
You gotta boil those potatoes. You got to cut them up. You gotta put some milk, some butter in there, and mash it.
I put garlic too.
And garlic.
Yeah.
That's too much work.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
But making different types of curry isn't a lot of work.
Not really. You just chop it up and you put it in the bowl and then
She's right, actually. Yeah.
Okay, you just boil the potatoes and
then you have to mash it. You have
okay, but
hard.
that's why you have someone else mash it.
I
Put it in the blender. Put it in the blender.
Ew, then won't it turn like
would that even work? I don't know that would work.
That would work. You're putting milk. You're putting milk. Huh?
But would that get the consistency you need though? Because like if you put milk and the butter in it too, won't it just turn into like soupy?
No.
Well, I guess the potatoes would still be hot, so the butter would melt.
Oh. It won't be soupy because you're only doing it to get to the consistency that you want. It's not.
That we don't know how to cook at all. Just so we're clear. Yeah, potatoes.
No, Sway, you're one of us Canadians. I've seen you eat potatoes, even if they are sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes are good too.
Sweet potatoes.
Potatoes.
Wedges. Scalloped.
Okay.
Just no potato salad with raisins. Keep that
I've
to
never had
the white
potato salad.
American.
I've never had potato salad.
You're not missing out.
Oh, I've
Yeah.
had potato salad. It's
Like
not
Americans go crazy over potato salad, don't they?
Yeah, I don't really get that, but
Justify white Americans. They add raisins in there.
they're doing a bunch of strange things. They're just-
And salad? Like that's a
And
thing?
potato salad.
The thing is, they call it potato salad, but it's in no way healthy, so I'm not really sure where they're trying to go with that. Like, but okay.
Well, it's like when you buy a salad from McDonald's or like any
They say
fast
that
food.
they say that McDonald's salad is like high calories.
Yeah,
Okay.
and has sugar in it.
Now here they're lying. Wow. Wow.
You might as well just eat the hamburger.
Honestly.
All right, guys. So, yeah, I kind of regret choosing this as like the Sri Lanka book. So, I'm going to try and see if I can find another book that tells it from the perspective of the minorities. So,
I think it was like interesting because it brought up a lot of issues that like I cared about. He may have presented them poorly, but I think it was a good thing to like dive into for those reasons at least.
it's
So
just like so beautifully written that I would give it like 3 out of 5 stars, but not more than that.
Well, hopefully the next one you chose is better. The next one, the end of January, that Divy is also going to be joining us with. Well, I don't remember what it's called, but it's the one it's nonfiction, right?
Reena
And
Virk.
Huh?
It's Reena Virk's story,
Yeah,
right?
that one.
Yeah, that one's good. It's the subject is it's hard. Like it's an intense subject when you're dealing with like a kid who's been bullied to death, basically. Like this happened out in BC during the 90s. But it's like it's a love letter from a father to his daughter because it's the story of what the father went through after and before he lost his child.
I'm excited to read.
Yeah. Like I was telling Anika, like I feel like this girl needs to have a day, like her own day, like have this be like Reena Virk's day, Canada against bullying, like something like that, like something to commemorate that this girl lived and that she passed away because of the inactions of her school, of the community around her, the fact that all these kids knew that bullying was happening in the school towards this one person, and in a way, they're all at fault for letting her die.
Yeah, like wear a shirt day, like a specific color shirt,
Yeah.
and like bring awareness to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
You sure that they've never tried that?
I don't think so. I even tried to look up if they did anything locally, like within BC, and I couldn't see anything.
I mean, if we look it up and if we find out that they do have a day, then we could kind of like participate and like bring awareness ourselves to people.
What year did this happen in?
I will check. Never.
So I feel like depending on the year.
1997.
Oh. 2001. Just because I feel like there's a lot of like I feel like Canada doesn't care about little brown kids, so in very many different ways.
Yeah.
But even specific like South Asian kids, like there's
especially at that time too.
Yeah.
I know. It was like a group of 6 kids in her grade ganged up on her. They lured her out of her home, telling her that she's invited to this outdoor party, lured her out, ganged up on her, beat her to death, and then tossed her body in the river. And these are like 14, 15-year-olds.
Well, this is the book we're reading. What is it for your next time, right? Is it next time or the one after that?
I think it's
no, it's not the next one. The next one's a children's book. It's the end of January.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like saying I'm excited to read it is inappropriate. I'm looking forward to reading it. You know,
You're looking forward to it.
yeah.
I mean, I'm excited for it to be better than this one. Hopefully, I can get through it.
I know, Sharanja, you said that there was like another book like that focused on Sri Lankan people. I don't remember what it was, what you said it was called.
Boat People.
Yeah.
That one, because the author is actually, she's actually Sri Lankan Tamil.
Okay.
And she wrote it about this specific incident. I don't know if you guys remember back in like 2007, there was that boat full of refugees that came off the coast of BC.
Yep.
Like a whole ship full of them. So it's about their story and the attorney that goes to represent them.
You know, I mean, I hope you guys decide to read that, and I hope I get to come back for that because I would be very interested in like.
You're an honorary member of this book club.
Wow.
You're more than welcome to join anytime you want.
Yeah, wow. Divy, you a brown girl?
Yeah, you're a brown girl in the rain.
You can stand under the umbrella with us and enjoy the rain.
I actually just got a visual of like Divy in Sri Lanka, like being at like 14 or 15 years old, holding an umbrella in the monsoon rain.
You know, it rained a lot there. It rains a lot.
Yeah. She's an OG, so we'll take her.
Wow. Okay, well, I'm excited.
My little Divy. Divy is a real one. She spent my birthday with me in the snow.
We have
like a true Canadian winter birthday.
Falling down a hill.
Exactly.
That's how you do it, especially in quarantine.
Yeah.
That's the way to celebrate.
So many people out. There's so many people out.
Yeah, like what else are you gonna do? Like there's nothing open, right? You might as well just enjoy the outdoors.
I'm glad because we were like, I feel like we had enough, like a good. I'm glad we went off to the side, so we were like away from people. You know, you want to be careful.
And then people were like looking at us because, like, let's say Greg was coming down the hill, Divy and I were at the bottom to make sure to stop.
We were like ready.
There was like a ledge. We didn't want anyone to go like flying over the ledge.
You have to make sure, especially because you guys are bigger too, so you have more.
Excuse me,
weight.
You calling fat?
No
I was a pro on that thing, okay? I was doing tricks.
She actually was, yeah. She looked like an actual snowboarder. No, you did. You like were doing all these crazy things, and I was like just scared. Oh my god! I was like, Monika's doing all this cool stuff, and you and I are just like rolling down this hill, basically.
That's also cool. Don't knock yourself down.
Well, it was good. It was fun though.
Greg was adorable. He was like, he thought that we weren't gonna catch him.
It was nice. I'm glad that we did that.
And I'm glad that we discovered that random trail before it too.
Yeah.
And at one point we got scared because then we started seeing signs saying like, beware of dog, danger.
I think that they put those signs up like, I don't think those were supposed to be there.
And saying like surveillance starts now.
Where were you guys walking?
It was it said that it was Altona Forest, but like,
okay,
I guess it's on the other side. It's on the other side of Stroud's.
Okay.
It's like behind all that residential.
Like closer to Whites and Finch?
No.
Like Whites and Altona. No,
No,
Finch
like,
and Altona, actually.
Like Altona and Stroud.
So further up? I was like trying to think.
It's like, Anika, what was that place that we went tobogganing? Like, what was that little square building, whatever?
I don't even know it. It's all I know. It's on Rouge.
Okay, so like there was like a square. There's a school, and then you turn somewhere.
I think it's some like electricity something.
And then like we went in the streets, and then there's like a little thing going into that Altona Forest on the other side. I didn't explain this properly. I'm sorry. Just
I know the little building that you're talking about, though.
Okay.
Maybe Josue, maybe.
No, Josue, no, because how can it was like no, because you don't
Oh, so wait. Okay, it's confusing because if you look at my Instagram story, you'll see I did a video of like where Divy and Greg were walking in front of me, and we are going over this bridge. I don't understand. Like the bridge looked so proper that it isn't possible for us to have been walking onto private property.
And that's just it. It was like, how can that like one section? Because it wasn't as if there was a gate or anything.
Yeah, like we didn't like walk through any type of break, and so it's. I don't understand how you could just be from public space and you just all of a sudden walk and like there's no gate, there's no nothing, and it's like beware, beware, beware.
Yeah, I feel like they were just trying to scare people.
So all in all, you guys had a good day.
Yes.
That's what matters.
I feel like she's trying to do something. I don't know what she's doing. Oh my god. What is she doing?
Yeah. Making some facial expressions.
No, it's because I was listening to a voice note from Kizzy saying that she's saying happy birthday, but she was saying I felt like she woke up and she's like it's Anika's birthday, but like she was saying, but it's the 27th. So I guess she thought that today wasn't the 27th, and then she felt embarrassed to ask.
Oh, Kizzy. Oh, Kizzy.
I feel love to know.
Birthday.
All the real ones. All the wishes.
All the wishes.
This very special book club, even if the book wasn't so special.
Very, very special book club. Because we have a very, very special guest.
Mm-hmm. And Greg in the background.
And Greg in the background, she said. Once again, we can't see him.
That's okay, Greg. It's okay.
Is he a blanket?
Oh, there we go. Headphones. Right.
All right. Do you guys have any like closing opinions or thoughts?
Next January 10th, I think is the next one, and it's going to be Secret Path. I tried to get the book, but no luck. I think I have to like specifically order it online.
I just bought the ebook because I had difficulties finding the copy online.
It's like on Google Play.
Shipping's gonna take forever right now too because
is it on Google Play? Well, no, that's why I went into. Oh wait, maybe Ajax has it. I'm just gonna check quickly.
Like
I know that, yeah.
Are they doing curbside?
I believe so.
Okay.
Available in stores, but what store?
Even if they don't have it at the Ajax one, I know they'll like send it to the Ajax one, then you can get it.
Yeah, but sometimes that takes too long.
Mm.
I ordered something Black Friday and I just got it last week. Or a few days ago, I should say. Okay, there's 2 in stock at Ajax.
Okay, good.
Secret Path. It's this book. Holy, but it's $26.99.
It's expensive.
Not as expensive as that other one you and I tried to get. What was it? Was like
the children's book.
No, graphic novel. Like
I know which one you're talking about. That was like $41
or more.
What was it called?
I forget what it's called. But when we were also looking for our Christmas books, some of them were like 100 and something for a children's book. We're like, no, we're not gonna do that one anymore.
Yeah.
Some of them were out of print. Some of them weren't being made anymore, and then with children's books, the older they become, the more money that they charge you for it.
So what you're saying is for me to not get rid of any of my books.
Yes.
It's up to you. I'm donating the ones that I have.
Well,
Other
I mean,
people
like even
have.
books from
Nice.
before.
It's up to you.
I collected a whole bunch of books actually to give away, but I don't think we can right now with the lockdown.
No, everything just closed down, so we'll just have to wait.
Mm-hmm.
Because my whole thing was like I wanted to donate books to this bookshop, but I also want to buy books from them too.
Mm-hmm.
So we could always just wait until the shutdown is over.
That's like my mom was putting aside some books today, and I saw she had the Glass Castle. I'm like, oh, Divy read that, and Greg started to read that.
I
I'm like,
love
"Where do you have
that
this
book."
for?" She's like, I don't know. Somebody must have given it to me. I've never read it.
It's a good book.
There's also a movie.
Yeah, there's a movie too, but I heard the movie wasn't good.
I watched the movie.
Yeah, what did you think?
The movie
It was all right.
It was all right. It was nowhere near as I
But
like.
Greg started to read the book, and he said they skipped a lot.
Yeah. They definitely did skip a lot.
On a side note, I watched Wonder Woman 2. Kind of a waste.
I watched Soul,
Really?
and it was great.
What
Greg and I
did you watch?
Soul.
Oh,
The new
Soul.
Disney Pixar.
Yeah. No, I paid $25 to watch Wonder Woman 2, and it just wasn't as good as the first.
And you could have watched it for free online.
I want to support.
Yeah, you supported some trash.
Yeah, I did. And apparently, the main actress is not. It's not that great to begin with.
What, Gal Gadot?
Yeah, she's problematic in the fact that
Explain.
so she is a huge supporter of the Israeli military. She's pretty much like a Zionist, and the whole thing with the Israeli military is the fact that they are at war with Hamas, and like the military is responsible for the deaths of a lot of Palestinian civilians. They're occupying Palestinian what's led to believe Palestine and like Palestinian owned land. And there's a whole like civil war between Israel and Palestine right now. And she's a very big supporter of the military. But the thing is, the military is harming Palestinians right now. And she's just getting trashed online.
I'm surprised that they would pick someone like that to be Wonder Woman.
Well, they picked her from before.
Yeah.
I know, but they didn't know all these things before.
Maybe not.
Probably not. But she was posting stuff about the Israeli military, like in support of them since before her first stint as Wonder Woman. But I think it's the fact that like Hollywood probably doesn't see what she's doing as wrong.
Yeah.
It's the same with I think it's because they're probably they're all like Gal Gadot is Israeli, and same issue with what's her name, Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman also supports the Israeli military as well, and I think it's because they were Israeli. It's the fact that it's the same issue with like Sinhalese people.
Natalie Portman is Israeli.
She has like Israeli background. Like I think she's half.
I see.
But it's like the same issue with like Sinhalese people supporting the Sinhalese government. Israeli people are supporting the Israeli military without thinking about who's getting hurt in the process.
And then Westerners, as long as it doesn't impact them, they just will be okay with whatever the dominant story is. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the people who are criticizing her online are like Palestinian like civil rights activist supporters too. And what they're saying isn't wrong. It's completely valid, but it's just like these people who are in power, who are in charge of like casting movies, don't care.
Yeah. And it is true. Yeah.
Mm.
The movie was not good.
Yeah, but the movie wasn't good either. It's like everything that made you feel in awe of Wonder Woman wasn't in this movie.
I still need to watch it though, but
well, yes,
not to pay $20.
Yeah, don't do that. Just wait.
I'll watch it the same way I watched Mulan.
Okay.
You mean Mulan is on Disney Plus now with no additional price?
Okay.
Oh, it is?
Okay. I don't know if I would still watch it though. There was so much criticism about that too.
Yeah, I heard that as well. I didn't like dive into what was happening, but I heard like a little bit of what was going on.
Yeah, like apparently like it's not as good as the animated version, but to be fair, a lot of these live action remakes are not as good as the cartoon version, but this one especially so because of
You've never watched it.
I never watched it because I'm just like there's no Mushu, there's no Shang, like what am I gonna watch?
Okay, but you have to look at it as it's not a remake of your childhood thing. You have to look at it like it's just another retelling of the story.
I
Kind of
guess
like how so many people have told the story of Cinderella, but there's different takes.
yeah, but then there's also like the ethical issue of how they made the movie too, like the fact that Disney went to this area in China where Muslim Chinese people are being persecuted by the government.
Honestly, you've never watched any other movie that had anything bad around it.
But not knowing.
Yeah.
Like I've never watched a movie knowing that there was something wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's always after the fact. So I feel some type of way me knowing all of this and still going to watch this movie. But to be fair, if I cared about it that much, I would have canceled my Disney Plus account too.
Like I feel like the true journalist in you would watch it and treat it like if you're doing a criticism of it.
Yeah, I could do that too. But honestly, all my energy has been directed towards this funny boy shit too.
Greg's in the background. She's like, that's true. I could do that.
I don't know, maybe. Maybe. But there's also just like so many more unproblematic good movies out there that I can put my time towards as well.
I feel like you would feel dirty watching it. I mean, like, of course, like, you know, there's a thing like, okay, like the journalist in you like would like to see and think about and whatever. But like also I feel like the activist in you balance these out in whichever way at whatever times you want, right? So
and also I feel like everything that's to be said about this movie, someone has said it and said it better. So I don't gain anything by watching this movie and just criticizing it afterwards. Like someone's already said it, someone said it better too.
So like this is like a totally different topic. I'm just only because we're talking about Disney movies. I'm really hoping because I recently watched The Little Mermaid. Not recently, it was a few months ago. Recently watched it, and I was like, the color and the animation in that movie was spectacular. If they do not include the same like vibrant colors, like I know Under the Sea, and if they try to make it like realistic, like no, you know what? Even Under the Sea, there are lots of nice colors, so they better include all those nice colors.
I feel like it wouldn't be realistic unless they made it colorful.
Yeah, vibrant.
Like vibrant.
Yeah. Like the purples and like the oranges and the greens and everything was so like I want everyone to go and like look up a clip of Little Mermaid and see how much like color there was. So
when is this one with what's her name supposed to come out?
Halle.
God knows.
Haley?
Halle?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know if they put it in production yet.
I don't know when they said that it's coming out.
I mean, the thing is, if now that they have announced that Yara Shahidi is going to be Tinkerbell and all this stuff, like they announced the whole Little Mermaid thing how long ago? Like just push that now.
Yeah.
Like give us a date or tell us like spring, fall, winter, summer.
I don't know if either of you would know this. Do you know for the Peter Pan story if they're doing the Disney version or going off the book?
For which part? For the Peter and Wendy?
Because Peter and Wendy, like that is the book. Like Peter Pan and Wendy, like that's the title of the book. But it's very different from the animated Disney version. Do we know what direction? Because they're very different directions. Do we know which direction?
Like I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't heard that much about it,
But
but
I
I
mean,
hope.
obviously, it's still Disney putting out Disney, but I don't know if they're going to do like a different spin on
Because
it.
the original is like satirical and like very dark, which is the case, I guess, with all the Disney stories, but not dark, tragic actually. It's tragic. So I would want to see a movie that, I don't know, I feel like
Because
somebody read the Peter Pan book and then we could talk about it.
is Peter and Wendy, is that going to be a movie or are they making it a series?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. And I know that they're doing Pinocchio over live action. And they're doing so apparently okay, for Buzz Lightyear,
Hmm.
apparently what's happening is it's not the Buzz that we know from Toy Story.
It's
I think I put this in my story the other
You
day.
did.
yeah, I saw
Yeah.
it. It's like the actual person that they based Buzz off that they're doing the
Yeah.
movie on, right?
Yeah.
You know what's one live action movie I hope they never do? Even though I love this.
Pocahontas?
Yeah, I love this movie as a kid. I never want to see this
Me
as a live
too.
action.
It was my favorite. I had it
Like,
on my birthday cake for when I turned 3 years old.
which one did you say?
Pocahontas.
Pocahontas.
Oh. I don't think they'll touch that one.
I
They
don't
better
think
not.
I don't know. Well,
Not
I'm
unless they're
surprised
going
that
to
they're
do a
touching.
realistic representation of it. And they won't.
You know why? Because while it is a beautiful story, it's a romanticization of what they did. So I don't think they would touch it again.
Unless they do like another Pocahontas story, but not have like John Smith or anyone in it. Like
Yeah.
just have it be so that they probably wouldn't do
Like
that.
was the king.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Because I feel like if you watch the movie itself, like you're like, oh, this is so nice, and you know all these things. Everybody at the end, everybody's like, but like they did that to basically lie to the general population and say that this was the actual how it all happened.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And in a weird way, for indigenous people, like Pocahontas has become like a slur. Like anytime you want to call like an indigenous person like a bad name, you just say, "Oh, she's acting like Pocahontas." Like, "Oh, hey, Pocahontas."
Or I don't know if it's really a slur, it's just like a sexualization. Kind of like how like a lot of people look at Chinese people as just like, oh, being a geisha.
Mm-hmm.
Or like saying like a China doll or something. It's not necessarily like calling somebody like the N word or calling somebody like the C word or calling somebody something like that, but it is something that
like a
people,
negative connotation.
yeah, people use it to be like, oh, it's a compliment, but it's like really not. It's like a backhanded compliment.
I'm actually a little bit surprised, but not that the fact that they're doing Peter Pan and Wendy, because Peter Pan is like one of the most well-known examples of like Disney's racism.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like,
They're probably just not going to use that in it. They're not going to use all the like in the native references and stuff like that.
Yeah, in so like the show Once Upon a Time.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello.
So
I watched it once upon a time too.
so like even in that show, like Tiger Lily, like they don't reference like what they did in the Disney Peter Pan movie at all. Like she's there, but they don't talk about any of that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I to be honest, I feel like in this Disney version, I don't think that character will even be there.
But that's the thing. I don't want them to take her out completely.
Right.
I want them to expand upon her more.
Yeah.
Right? Like give her a bigger role in the story instead of having her and this weird like beef between Wendy and her, have them actually be like friends or something. Right? Like I know with the animated version that they have on Disney Plus now, they've actually removed that whole scene with the Native Americans dancing and singing. Like they've just cut it out completely. And I feel like it would be better if you just, you know, gave them more of a role and just like expanded upon their characters.
I have a question actually. Do you think that if they left it in but did a disclaimer in the beginning saying like Disney like perpetuated like race,
Isn't that what they did for other things? I'm
Yeah,
They
pretty
did
sure
that for other things.
they have. Do you think it would be better if they did that? Because I mean, I don't think we should be keeping these types of things, like, you know, reproducing this type of stuff, but whatever it is, they included it in that
I
first movie.
think that they should have just put a disclaimer because the movie is what it was and it represents the time. We would not do that nowadays,
Right.
but like just keep it for how it was written, how it was done. Because if anything, you can use it as a learning experience or a learning like example for your children.
The only thing I think, I feel like the only argument against that would be like, we don't want to re-traumatize or like us make indigenous children feel less than or in those images. But I mean, in that movie, they did that. The disclaimer obviously is very important. Yeah.
Yeah, but I also think back then, probably indigenous kids weren't watching those movies. I feel like they made it towards a certain demographic, right? They weren't thinking about everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh,
I mean,
I don't know.
Peter Pan came out in what, the 50s?
I think so.
And so like, yeah, think about it. Who was privileged enough to even go to watch movies? White people. 1953. There was still segregation back then. The civil rights movement didn't even start to the 60s.
Have you guys ever watched Fantasia? Like the old Fantasia? So there was actually like there was in the original one, like the first one, there was actually like a big uproar back in like the 80s or 90s because there's a scene with how do you call them, centaurs, female centaurs, and they're all beautiful, they're all white, all beautiful, long hair, and then they have this one centaur which is the imitation of like a black child, but like the racist interpretation of a black child. They had her hair up in like pickaninny, like Anika, do you know what I'm trying to say, right? Like they had her hair up in like these like really, really strange pigtails. She had big lips.
Yeah, like the racist caricature of like pickaninnies, as you said, that was used back then.
And they had her in this movie for kids, and she was a little like they used her in like a servitude role towards the other female centaurs. Like I'll try to find you guys a picture. Hold on.
Okay, back there.
Oh, it's in the private chat. So this was actually in the movie for like decades and decades, and it was only like I think like the 70s or 80s that they actually complained enough for the whole thing to be removed from the movie.
I remember this one actually.
Did you click the link, Divy?
Yeah. I remember seeing that. I can't, like, it's frustrating that only now are they removing these things. Like, you didn't know that this was offensive and degrading before. Like, I don't know.
They didn't, because think about like who's watching these movies.
Yeah.
They're not gonna think about it like that. Maybe it's just one of those things that as like culture and society develops, then you'll notice more about more of these things. But
yeah, you know what? I feel like I don't like saying that because I feel like we should say that what it is. Honestly and truly, all these like all the people that were creating and like all the people in especially in all of the world that had power, they didn't care about people who didn't look like them. I don't think it's a matter of culture progressing. I think it's a matter of like they were not humane. This is just a fact. What did TC's comment say? It went away so quickly. How do you expect me to read these things? What does this mean?
I guess it just means that they'll just produce it without. You have to wait till it's released in order for you to know what it's about.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But I think I looked it up, and I think it's just going to be following the original plot.
Okay, all right. If either of you are interested, I do suggest reading the original. Well, there are plays that it starts with plays and then it eventually the author makes it into a book, but it is interesting.
I remember reading like one Peter Pan book. I wasn't sure if it's Peter Pan and Wendy, but I think they based off the Disney movie based the first Peter Pan movie off of this book. And I always feel sad when they come back to like the real world and then John and Wendy and Michael, they grow up and they forget Neverland. Is this the same book?
No.
It's a different book.
Did you guys ever watch one of the sequels to Peter Pan where it's Wendy's daughter?
I saw that. I didn't like it.
Because she's not Wendy?
She's not Wendy. She had an attitude.
Sequel.
She wasn't sweet like Wendy. This one, Jane. Jane was her name. Jane had an attitude.
I mean, what I liked about it was that they touched on, like, she was like in the bunker because it was during the time of the World War. I liked that.
I think they mentioned that in one of the Peter Pan books. Because she is a character in the book.
She is at the end.
Yeah, like Peter Pan comes back to kidnap her and take her too.
Yeah. So you know what? So if you watch Once Upon a Time, it's closer to that than it is Disney.
I don't want to talk about that Peter Pan plot.
No. I don't mean everything with like, Rumpelstiltskin and all that, but Peter Pan and his like Neverland.
Yeah.
The book is closer, like the original, like so Peter Pan, like his story started as a play. I don't know how much you guys want me to explain about this, but so it started as a play. Okay. So Peter Pan, like the whole story was like, I think he was like a baby that was like orphaned, and then like there's like the whole story is that he doesn't grow up and he gets into all sorts of shenanigans. This is how the plays went on. So then I think it was like Peter Pan in Kensington or something, and he goes through all sorts of shenanigans. He doesn't want to grow up, this, that, and the other. Fine. Okay. So then eventually the author of the plays created a book from this Peter Pan character. He based it off of a child that he knows. That also is a tragic story. We won't get into that. But anyways, so the Peter Pan book is basically Peter Pan takes all these children to Neverland, and he doesn't like, consequences are not a thing for him. Everything is very like life is about him, and he soon forgets like the other people and things happening to them, and he just wants to be
Narcissism.
What?
Narcissism.
Yes, yeah, okay. So this is one of the themes in the book, and then also like him fighting, because Hook is in the book. Him fighting Hook is not so much as Hook as the character, but adulthood and aging is like presented as like the antithesis to Peter Pan, but it's not even so much like aging as much as it is like responsibility and like relational connection, because Peter Pan is only about himself. And this is where like it gets really similar to Once Upon a Time, in which like Peter Pan is keeping these kids there and they want to go home and they want their parents, but he just wants to continue to play. He just wants the world to be about him. He doesn't want consequences. It's actually like super tragic because he's not happy either, but he's just there like doing this whole like kid thing. I don't know that I explained it properly. Like
you explained it pretty well.
Okay. Well, I actually do recommend everyone to read it because it's a very interesting book. It's a very interesting thing to delve into. Okay, hold on. Sorry, I just want to throw this in.
Little Jimmy sounding so smart.
I like these like tragic story type things because Peter Pan was based off of a character that J.M. Barrie, who was the author, that J.M. Barrie knew. And so because this is like kind of weird, because in the story, Peter Pan kind of has like a tragic story in which he is stuck. He essentially imprisons himself in this world and tries to get others with him. But so the character that it was based on, he had a lot of other mental health issues as well. But because of like the the like aurora that Peter Pan had, it followed that real life person, and eventually he actually ended up committing suicide. And I feel like his life story in connection with the actual Peter Pan story is like a tragic ending to a tragic life that Peter Pan lived in that non-fictional world, bleeding into the real world. In any case, there we go.
Is this like J.M. Barrie's like son or adopted son?
No, so J.M. Barrie for a period of his life, like was really close with this one family. The family, I think, had 5 boys. The youngest child was named Peter.
This is the family that they based off Finding Neverland. There was a movie about this relationship, but they kind of Disney-fied it. The fact that like he got close to this family, the mother passed away, and he got close to the youngest son, Peter, and then eventually named a character in his play after him.
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea that it ended like that.
But like, I honestly like I know this is like not a BIPOC author or anything, and of course my heart is
book club.
Right. Okay. But so I actually recommend like reading it because it's a very, I feel like it's more telling, and I actually prefer it over the Disney version because it's so interesting. It has so much in it. It's interesting. I have notes. One day I can share all this with you. So it's good. And it's a quick read. So,
but it's a series or just a standalone?
It's a series?
Let me get the book. Please hold.
Okay. Talk amongst yourselves.
Anika, I'm coming to your house after this.
Are you?
Yeah. Should we let our viewers go?
My little bells jingling on the shirt.
Viewers, are you still there? There's 3 of them. Who's he?
Okay.
Roll call. Whoever's in the chat, still stay here.
Oh, it's Peter Pan. It's just called Peter Pan.
I guess so. I thought it was called Peter Pan and Wendy. It's just called Peter Pan.
Okay.
Maybe this cover says Peter Pan because I remember on my book list it said Peter Pan and Wendy.
Is that the same book that you're talking about? Because that looks like it's just like about Peter Pan.
No, it's the same book, but there are a lot of different.
Look at those annotated notes.
Oh, sorry. No, it's the same book, but I think I have just a different cover because most of them say Peter Pan and Wendy on them, but same author and like everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check it out. Peter Pan and Wendy.
It's good.
In the chats.
What?
Roll call. So that's Josue.
Sean.
We're out here talking about Peter Pan.
And TC, the troublemaker.
It's a good book.
I definitely will add it to my to be read list.
And then we could talk about it. Just
you guys, I got 2 more books to add to my TBR because Baby G bought me 2 books for my birthday. I've been seeing this one on the gram.
Mm-hmm.
The Vanishing Hound.
And this one. I love her. I read her book in the summertime called Clap When You Land. It was a really good read.
Okay.
She is Dominican. Also, Josue gave me Mexican candies. I think they're Mexican. They're mango with chili pepper.
Oh.
Josue, the picture that you painted for her is really nice, if you're still there.
Let me show the people them.
The painting's really nice.
Let me go full screen for this. Hold on.
Beautiful.
Light.
I honestly love it so much. Okay, I feel like the light is not helping it. Yeah. Really quickly, Josue, do you use acrylics or oil? Just throw it in the chat because I'm curious.
I think he uses acrylic.
Okay.
But he'll respond.
Anika, you know that's reminded me of that other book we read earlier this year, Gods of Jade and Shadow.
Oh, this one. Yeah.
Some of the symbols.
I honestly love that so much. Like, I think it's so nice. Yeah. Acrylics. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I just don't know.
Josue, I told Divy that I'm expecting a Divy painting. I told her, I'm like, so I got a whole bunch of California blend picture paintings now. I got a masked loco original. And now I need a Divy original too. And I told Greg over here that he's gonna pull something together for me too. Right, baby G? He says sure. Can it be a portrait of me?
Beautiful. Oh.
I got artistic friends.
Wow. I mean, you're artistic too, though. So
Yeah.
I'm not.
yes, you are, Anika. All that stuff you make like that. Yeah. All that stuff you make is not easy, and you're obviously talented. Whatever. She's talented, everybody.
You're very creative.
You don't show
You look
everybody
like
all the things
creative.
you make too. You should show everybody.
A Divvy original.
Yeah.
The only thing that I make is a mess.
Don't be ridiculous. One day I'm just gonna run around taking pictures of everything you make and put it up so everybody can see.
I make friends. That's what I do. I make
Yeah. Well, yes.
online and occasionally in person. Josue the artist. What? I want to try one of these lollipops. Hello, my name is Anika and welcome to my ASMR. Today I'll be eating Vero mango.
Sharanja, did you know that Vijay lives in Canada?
So I knew he had a son that goes to Ryerson.
Oh, yeah.
So I figured he must have like a house here that his son like chills
No,
at.
I think he lives here a lot of the year because, like, I think it was my cousin or something said that she saw them at the Eaton Center, him and his
I
family.
saw them at the Eaton Center.
So this is what I'm saying. Like, so he must be here a good portion of the year that people are seeing him in the Eaton Center.
Like 100% confirmed his son does go to Ryerson. Like he studies in like one of the graphic art design programs. So he's 100% here.
Mango.
I always liked him, so I just was like, oh my god, really?
I'm not a big fan of him.
Really?
No. I just feel like his movies are just like typical action movies. There's nothing special about them.
Listen, I feel like all of those are, a lot of them are. Yeah. So, like, you know, it is what it is. But I've always like, you know, when you watch those movies, like when you're young, like I liked his, I don't know.
Yeah, it's fun to watch because they're like nostalgic too, especially if they're like older movies. But I don't know. I just there's something about him that I just can't. So, and also his wife is Sri Lankan too, so I think they have family here.
Yeah. Okay. That to me was also very exciting.
Yeah, but I don't know. For some reason, I always thought like you're like an international star, and yet your kid is going to Ryerson for graphic art design.
No.
To Ryerson?
You know what though? I feel like it kind of makes sense because didn't he have his kid in a few?
He's gone to OCAD.
He was dancing in one of some of those videos, this, that, and the other. So I feel like the arts make sense.
Yeah, but like Ryerson?
Yeah.
Are you even downplay your own school?
What?
Because it's my school. I can downplay it.
Listen,
they only got that building 10 years ago.
Ryerson has some good programs.
Yeah, it does. Not gonna lie, I feel like it definitely gives you more job experience being at Ryerson versus other schools at other programs.
Oh, that's good to
I
know.
don't know. After this program I'm in, I might go to Ryerson for Bachelor of Social Work.
Weirdly enough, like they have a really good social work program at Ryerson.
Wait.
Like,
I know my
Wait.
prof is doing her Master's of Social Work there.
You're gonna do your Master's of Social Work?
I don't know yet.
You have a psych degree.
Yeah.
With your psych degree, I'm sure you can apply for the Master's of Social Work program.
You don't think I have to get the Bachelor of Social Work first?
No, especially because if you have a bachelor's in psych and then you have this program, the addictions and
Mental health.
Yeah, I feel like because a lot of the master's program, they want diverse applicants because, well, depending on if you'll be doing research or whatever, a lot of I find a lot of the master's programs are more open in terms of fields you're in. Yeah. So I feel like everybody, okay, apply. I think it's worth applying.
You know, I don't know if I really want to do the whole master's thing because the only good thing about getting your master's is that I'd be able to open up my own practice. But do I really want to open my own practice? I don't think so. I don't want to be a boss of someone.
it might make you more employable.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like the diploma you're doing right now, like as long as they give you a foot in the door in terms of placement, I feel like that's what's
Well, yeah, especially because upon grad, I can work as both a addictions mental health worker or a social service worker.
Mm-hmm.
And with me doing the Indigenous certificate program, that's another leg up.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, I feel like even if you did get a job right out after this diploma in the field, you can always go back and do your master's after if you do want to start your own practice.
My thing is, I don't want life to pass me by. I need to be able to have my husband and children. I don't know when that's gonna happen.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't want my schooling to get in the way of all that.
Yeah. I mean, though, some master's programs are 2 years and some are 1. Depends on if you end up doing research. Like a thesis.
We'll see.
So, either which way, I'd be excited.
Of course you would.
Yeah,
This master's person over here winning awards for their masters.
Wow.
Told you, I got smart friends. And by smart, I don't only mean book smart, but all of my friends are smart in different ways. I don't have any dumb friends.
Exactly.
You attract people who are like you, right?
Mm-hmm.
In certain ways, most ways. That's how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Divy, I want to read that paper you wrote.
You know what? Like, I need to print it out. This is gonna be my goal for next year, to actually get it published. So I know I've been lazy this year, but I need to.
You guys do vision boards? I've never done one, but I'm thinking of doing them.
I think I might as well. Because I've always been a goal-oriented person, but I feel like once I'm done.
Is that on your resume?
What?
Is that on your resume? I am a goal-oriented person.
No, in life, I've always been like trying to accomplish whatever X, Y, and Z. So I feel like after teachers college, like there are like certain things like I want to like build up and create and things like that. So I'm thinking I might actually do a vision board.
Well, like, I don't know. This birthday has felt very. It started out feeling like very like drab, like 2020, blah blah blah. But I've come to realization that going into this both new year of life and like a new year, the new calendar year, you have to think about not what hasn't gotten accomplished, but more so what has got accomplished.
Yeah.
So at least in my 27th year of life, I started back school, got straight A's.
Yeah.
I started Brown Girls in the Rain with Sharanja. I started Melanin Marvels with you. Like, my plate is full and I'm eating. I feel good.
And you're doing all the things.
Yeah, you're 100% right. You need to focus on what you have, what you've done, instead of just like focusing on what you didn't get to do or what you've lost. That's a positive way to think about things, especially with this year.
And of course, it's been hard, but you're right. You have done a lot.
Yeah.
It's changed too.
And like also, guys, like we have our health.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
None of us got COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
There's still a couple days left in the year. So.
What's Greg
You're not
saying?
gonna get COVID. What?
What is Greg saying?
Oh, he said not yet. Like
Oh my God,
okay,
Greg.
he said not knock
Say
on
that.
wood, but none of us got it.
Okay.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Yeah, he says knock on wood.
Okay, knock on wood. Knock on Jason Momoa.
Oh my gosh.
I have this picture right here. I don't know if you can see
Of
it.
course we do. Like,
Mhm.
oh my God. Yeah, that's a nice picture though.
I know.
Look, she's got Pocahontas too.
All this art came from the same.
Yeah, I
Same
know. I have those. The woman recognizes me when I go to conventions.
Yeah, she's really nice.
We should all, sorry, really quickly, we should all sit together on video and make our vision boards. I think it would be nice.
Yeah, I'm down to do that.
Companionship.
We'll set it for the new year.
Yeah, for the new year. Oh, maybe not like right after the new year because then it gets to feel like New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
And I don't do well
No,
with
that's
them to begin
fine.
with.
It doesn't have to be like right away.
Yeah.
We'll pick a time.
It's just, as I said, it's just like something for like in the next year. It doesn't have to be January 1st. It could be May 2nd, even though we probably won't wait that long.
Yeah. How is it?
It's good. Greg doesn't like it though.
What is it?
It's a mango candy with chili pepper.
That sounds good.
It's Mexican.
That's how I eat mangoes at home.
Really?
Yeah. With like
Wait.
chili pepper.
Yeah.
Or like sometimes even salt and pepper tastes good too.
I think the reason why Greg doesn't like it is because you couldn't really taste the mango at that part. But now it's getting towards the bottom.
You know what I think is like, I don't know if it's funny or is the right word or whatever, but when I lived in Sri Lanka, there's like these little stands or whatever on the side of the road. And some people would be like riding their bike and they would have a little thing on the back as well. And they would go through the town, not the towns, like the streets and selling these like hoppers. I don't know what this is in English. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Hoppers. That's what it is in English.
I don't know what words work for here or there or whatever. Okay, so I think it's funny that like back then, like you just go by and you just like eat this food like on the streets or whatever, but then you come here and people are like, that's disgusting. I don't know, that food tastes so much better, so I don't know.
I hate it when people react like, oh, it's disgusting when they haven't even tried the food yet.
Like, bro, it's 10 times better than your food though, so like.
Yeah. A lot of the times, like the most, ugly food are actually like the most flavorful foods.
I honestly, I feel like I say this to everyone. No, I feel like they're frozen. I hope she's not frozen. Oh, now you're frozen. Okay. I feel like
he has to leave.
Okay.
He has work at 5.
Go to sleep, Greg.
Oh, to sleep.
He said he was waiting for us to wrap up, but we said we were wrapping up, and then we went off.
Okay, I'll say one more thing. I don't eat shawarmas in this country because they were better in Sri Lanka.
I feel like everything meat-wise just tasted a lot better in Sri Lanka, and I don't know if it's because maybe it's like cleaner meat or if it's not traveling like the
processed.
same amount of distance to get to you, but it tasted so much better.
Yeah, like so much, to the point that I literally don't eat those things here.
Yeah,
because it's not worth it. It's just not.
No, because you're also like you're ingesting a lot more toxins than you are there, because it's literally there. It's just like farm to table.
Yeah.
Anywho.
But I will say the mangoes there killed me, nearly killed me.
Stitch.
I almost died.
Yes, we did. You're allergic.
You're allergic to mangoes?
Sri Lankan mangoes.
You are?
Yeah, apparently.
I would be so sad.
I was so sad. That's what I wanted to taste the most in Sri Lanka, and I couldn't have it. And I don't even think it's because of the actual mango that I'm allergic to. I think it's like the
pesticide.
Like the pesticide that they use. I'm not probably used to it.
Oh, that sucks. Sucks.
Yeah. Like, what can you do? What can you do?
I'm sorry.
I did have a lot of papaya.
Yeah.
And other stuff, so I'm good. But I wanted to have the mangoes.
Yeah.
Certain things I miss. Like I want to enjoy it again.
Yeah.
But not anytime soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
The food is a major one.
Okay, people, we ending this broadcast. Catch us January 10th when we read Secret Path. The Secret Path by Gord Downey. And come back on later January to see our girl Divy when we read that other story. Reena something? What was it, Sharanja?
Shady. Hold on. Let me get the actual, because I just keep calling it like Reena Virk story, but hold on, let me see if I can get it.
Genius Cartel's on the next set.
I literally think that's what it's called, though.
Sharanja Sean says he hopes that Genius Cartel is on our next lineup after this current lineup.
You know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. I with Genius, I was kind of uncertain if I wanted to continue the story after the issue that we read.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had like mixed feelings about it, but like it might be interesting to see how she continues the story.
I have the trade, so I could read it and then you read it.
Yeah, let's do that. Hold on. Sorry guys, I'm getting the book.
Bye people.